Welcome into our lives.
And welcome to the Expanders Club podcast.
We're so happy to have you.
Join us as we embark on a journey of deep exploration, soul searching, and asking the hard questions.
With the goal of truly understanding the most aligned, empowered, and purposeful versions of ourselves.
We want to live an extraordinary life, and we're willing to dig deep to find out what it takes.
Buckle up. You're about to meet a new version of yourself, an extraordinary one.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Expanders Club podcast. It is Madeline Lucy here. Welcome, welcome.
And Brooke Harris. And we are just so excited to have you here hanging with us. And this episode is a solo episode. We haven't done one of these in a long time. And we are here today to share some very big news with you. Our favorite people. And actually it's Maddie's news to share. So Madeline Lucy.
Madeline Lucy, let me tell you. Okay, guys, our exciting news, exciting and emotional. But today is actually, this episode is my last episode on the Expanders Club podcast.
She's dying. And no,
my health,
my kids.
we can't joke.
Okay, not something to joke about. Maddie is healthy and vibrant, but she's moving on to her next chapter. So today is the last official episode with you as a co-host. I have a feeling you'll be back many times. We are not rid of you.
Oh, you cannot get rid of me. Yeah, I feel the same. I think this doesn't fully feel like the end, but at the same time, right now, in this stage of life, with what's happening, this is the decision to step away from Expanders Club podcast and leave Brooke Harris to hold the reins, continue to run the show as she does so well, and continue on her journey and pursuing the mission of what we created, which I'm excited for you, what's ahead, and for me, what's ahead my way. And in the theme of Expanders Club, pursuing our dreams and following our intuition, this was a decision that I didn't take lightly. It was definitely a hard one. It was really hard. I think it's so much more layered than just, whether I'm on a podcast or not. It's like our relationship, our partnership, what we've built, the message we're trying to put out. And in so many ways, this has been such an incredible period for me and huge growth, and I'm so grateful for it. And just like I teach to follow your intuition, there is something there for me, knowing that me stepping into my next chapter and going through this big transition that I'm going through right now, that I have to make space.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And, when we had our conversation about it, I could feel that and feel that that was very true for you. And certainly I would never want to be the person or a person holding you back. And I think at this stage in your life, no one could hold you back. It's inevitable. And you stepping into this next chapter, I know there are some details you're not ready to share, but high level, can you kind of tell the people where you're going?
Yeah, I think I went in this year and committed to a lot of things. I was so excited to step into this new version of myself, trying new things, pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And that, being a coach, that was always my main thing. Then having the podcast, I remember when we had our first conversation, we were like, you literally were like, should we start a podcast? And I was like, without even really thinking about it, I just said, yes. Yeah, that's absolutely what we need to do. That feels so right. And that I knew it would always be, I knew only good could come from starting a podcast, us two doing this together, pushing through fears, helping me be able to use my voice, pushing, like creating more opportunities, meeting more people, putting myself out there, all of these things. This podcast has been such a gift. And also pursuing other creative endeavors. And now with all of that, I've just come back to my North Star with all the things that I've learned along the way. And it's like, I want to be able to help people. I want to be able to connect with people. I want to create more space for this connection and support. And I'm really pursuing this in my one-on-one coaching and my group coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And fully focusing on that, putting both foot, like jumping on the train and just like taking it and focusing and going with it is really what I need to do right now.
Yeah, I think, look, everything is cyclical, and I think that there is a part of the cycle where it's about collecting information, trying things, testing things out, because that's what helps us understand what's true for us, or our truth, or our path, and what suits us best. And so like it's very natural to do that and then kind of be able to let some things go once you understand, cool, that works for me, that doesn't work for me. And that's kind of the cycle that we're seeing with you, I think, especially when we started this back in February. It's what month is it? It's September. It's September now. When we started this back in February, we were 100% both in very different places, and the goal was evolution and expansion, and like box checked. Not that there's ever a finality to that. Like that's a constant journey to be on in a very exciting way. But you are a different person coming from a different perspective with different goals than you were back in February, for sure.
Yes, exactly. And I think in February, I was probably someone that was saying yes to everything. Like, yes, let's do this. Yes, let's do that. Yes, let's try this. Yes. And now in the growth that I've had over this past year, I'm now in a place where I feel actually so good to be able to say no to things, which I used to fear saying no because I would miss out on an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And now saying no is actually so empowering. And it's me saying yes to myself because
Yes.
I'm so much clearer on the path and I'm clearer on what I want.
Well, and you trust and have certainty that like what is for you will not miss you, and whether you say yes or no to these small opportunities or not, like if it's meant for you, it'll come in a different way.
Exactly. So this is how it is for now, and not forever. And yeah, putting all my focus in one place, and I hope to still be able to show up and continue to use my voice, because that has been such a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And continue to hopefully provide be that person, or be in spaces where you can be able to provide support for people who are also on this journey in many different ways.
Yeah. So let's shed a little more clarity on that, this next chapter from a professional standpoint for you. What is it that you're stepping into professionally and offering?
So I, as an empowerment coach, I see, and what that really means, my whole journey as a coach has shifted so much, starting so health focused.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it just adapt as I've worked with clients over the past 2 years, that, health, of course, is so important first and foremost, but there's so much more to that, in the sense of, if you might know what to do, you might know how to look after yourself, the things that you need to do, but if you've got blocks and things in the way mentally, emotionally, that you can't break through, you've got certain beliefs about yourself that you actually think you can never be a healthy person, or you can never be a happy person, or you can never be someone that can achieve that, or have this, or be this, then there's so much more to work through. And it's like, okay, so let's bring it all back. Let's bring it all back to where you came from, the stories you're telling yourself, the things that are blocks that are getting in the way, and let's work through that. I want you to come out of this. I want you to believe in yourself. I want you to love yourself. I want you to trust yourself. I want you to be in a place where you can say no to what's not serving you. Yes, because you know what you do want, and you can get so clear on that vision, and take control of your life. Reclaim your life. It is so yours, and every decision you're making every single day is leading towards that. So if I can help empower people like one by one, and now also as I want to do it in a group format, because I've experienced this, the power of connection when you see and are able to speak vulnerably and hear other people speak vulnerably in a group setting about what they're going through, you feel so much less alone. You're like, oh.
Well, not only that, but that's the reason we started this whole podcast, right? Around this idea of expansion and being expanders for one another in positive, and in the positive and negative, like in people's trauma and in their joy, we can find our own moments of expansion just in the interaction, the listening, the speaking. So I think that it all ties together. Like those, you're so good at building community and being in community and being open and experiencing those moments of expansion is like, that's really what the human journey is all about.
Oh, the feeling that you get when you are supported by others and you're really seen in a group environment or just like even one-on-one. But that, I want to be able to replicate that for people. I want to be able to create that for people. So yeah, I think my coaching is going to adapt to bigger levels. Like I see myself community building, as I've said so many times, like building Venice Swim Crew, the Chili Jellies this past year, past couple of years. So funny. It has been the biggest gift. Like seeing this morning, we swam out to the buoy and we all held hands in a circle, and there was the biggest turnout that we'd had. We had 18 of us, and we all just in this moment felt so connected, and we went around the circle and we shared a word that we all felt, or that we wanted to get, what we get out of swim club. Like, what is it that we feel?
Wait a minute. Pause here for a second. You swam. Now you're in the middle of the ocean. What? Treading water?
Floating,
talking?
holding hands. Oh,
okay. I mean, this sounds exhausting. Was no one like, hey, let's go back to land and do this? Like,
I think many people were probably thinking that in their head as they were like getting cold. And I was like, no, we are holding our hands in the middle of the ocean and we're saying how we feel right now. So
amazing. I just had to like process that for a moment.
Yeah, Brooke, I would love to see how you went at swim club. It's
I mean, I don't know.
Everyone's very competent swimmers, so they can tread water, and I make them tread water for probably a bit longer than they'd want to. And you know, everyone went around the circle, and the words they shared was like, "What are you here for?" And it was like community, friendship, connection, like motivation, inspiration, like love. It was so beautiful. I just had this moment of like, wow, this is all that we want as humans. Like the feeling included, feeling part of something, feeling that level of connection, presence, awareness. And that can be found like when you really like find your people and build community and be able to show up in like a supportive environment. And that's what I want to continue to create in many different forms. So watch this space.
Yes. Watch Madeline Lucy. I think that's just the start. It was just like an example to show you really what you are capable of and like remind you your power to bring people together. And it's just like someday you're gonna, as much as you love Venice Swim Club, you're gonna look back and be like, oh, that was just such a tiny example of like my superpower and what I'm able to create in this world.
Thank you.
And now she goes, now she's going out into the world on her own. This is like, I mean, we're parting, we'll be in each other's lives forever, your family. But like, we've kind of like are tying all the bows on our like professional relationships together, working together. It's like coming to a close.
It's so wild that I met you 9 years ago this October, and I walked in like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, new to LA, and we talked about this in the first episode. Maybe we didn't, because I actually think that episode we recorded and then we listened back and we're like, that's outrageous, and we had to re-record. Do you remember?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I might have to dig up some of those.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Brooke, I can't even have you tell the story. But anyway, I walk in, I'd been introduced to Brooke, and I was having an interview with her to work for her at what at the time was called Renew Juicery, or Cold and Thirsty.
Cold and Thirsty then, yeah. Yeah.
And to think now how far we've come and all the sides that we've seen of each other, who would have ever thought that our relationship would have progressed as it has and been so expansive?
Oh my God. Such an expansive relationship in every direction. But yeah, I mean, Maddie showed up to an interview in a tiny, tiny skirt.
Brooke, you can. This is so not accurate.
It's so accurate because this was
on my knees.
No. This was this. Look, this is a first impression I'll never forget. So like maybe she was onto something, but she did.
There we go.
It was like, and it went well. I mean, Maddie's personality shines through more now than ever, but like always was very like, you're very likable. You know, people, you reflect the best in people. People like you. So it's hard not to like you, but you did come in with a very short skirt, and Maddie has like super long legs. So that was like maybe should have been a red flag. And I had literally just interviewed a girl who on paper was like perfect. It was like she just wanted to be an assistant, like had experience, had wanted to be an assistant, like literally so organized, like probably a Virgo. I don't know. Wasn't as into this stuff back, as knowledgeable about this stuff back then. But just like could do the job like with her eyes closed. And I was like pretty sure I was going to hire her. And then Maddie came in and like, no, none of it made sense. Like on paper, not that great. Shows up wearing a tiny skirt, has a thick Australian accent. That is
what made me not that great on paper?
It was like, I think, well, one, I needed a lot of like errands run, and you didn't have a car. You just like gotten to America, and like
didn't have a visa.
You didn't know LA. You didn't have a visa. Like, yeah. A lot of like pretty much everything.
Yeah. Fully. I was rogue.
Yeah, but I just like couldn't get you out of my head, and I kept thinking about it. I was like, and that's when I think I called you and was like, hey, look, here's my concerns. Like, if we can get your visa figured out and you can get a car figured out, like, because I don't want to, not have the ability to ask you to go and do things, like, then you can have the job. And you were like, yeah, cool, done. Those are easy. And I was like, okay, I don't know why I'm doing this. Obviously, I know now in hindsight, like the universe, it was one of those moments, a trust your intuition moment. And the rest is history. Like you brought, maybe not the professionalism that others would have, but you brought energy, joy, like heart. It was a definitely stage and stages of the business where it was just like you had to be up for anything, and you just always were, and that was something I so appreciated. Like every crazy twist and turn, you were just like, yep, cool, great, and very and super positive about it. And like you brought so much fun and joy to times that like what I went through those years of the business, like times that would have just been, I think, broken me in a different way had I not had your light so close to me.
Oh, so beautiful. Thank you for saying that. I would definitely take that one as a compliment. I think, being professional has maybe not always been my strong suit, but I'm glad that, my personality could shine through and have my back in that instance. I mean, what a gift that you trusted your intuition. You're like, there's nothing about this that seems right, but it just feels right, and so I'm going to go with it. And yeah. I mean, I was so grateful. 3 weeks into living in LA, I did not know what I was in for. I was just like, knew that I had to meet you. I'd got introduced to you by a friend, shout out Leah, and was like, okay, I never thought I'd be working for like a cold pressed juice shop or anything but it was like the business that you were creating and the vision that you had and the way that you just worked, of everything being like, it's not that hard. We can figure it out. Like, let's do this. Like, let's take a risk. Let's do this. I so admired. And I was like, I know whatever is going on here, I have to be around this woman. Like, Brooke, not so much older than me, but so had already started a business. You'd done all of these things. I was like, yeah, she's entrepreneurial. She knows what she wants and she's just going for it, and she's not cutting corners, and she's like sticking to her values. I'm like, that is the kind of energy that I want to be around. And I was like, let's fucking go. Like, I was in for the ride.
Yes, you were. And that is something that like does not get lost, especially a startup. You just need people who are in for the ride. Otherwise, like, because it is a bumpy ride, and it was bumpy, but it was a lot of fun. Except for the times that it wasn't.
I mean, some trauma through some stages there.
Yeah, where do you think you would have ended up? Like, had you had that
Brooke, I think
interaction?
about this a lot. Fucking hell. So there was I had coming from my point of view, I had two roads to walk down. And given that the two people that I had been introduced to in LA when I first moved here through my ex-partner, Leo and Mark, Leah had introduced me to you, and it was either working for a cold pressed juice company, or there was an opportunity to work with Mark, and he's a real estate agent. And I was going to, start as like a real estate assistant, whatever. And I mean, I still think back to those days and think if I'd gone down that road, how rich I could
feel like you would have made
probably
a lot
be.
more money.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Considering like the network that I've built here in LA and like what, the opportunity that could have been there financially. Yeah. There's that road that I could have gone down.
The soul doesn't care about money. I'm sorry your soul chose for you. Hopefully that will bring many more rewards, and eventually they will be equivalent or greater in cash. But yeah, you would have made a lot more money that way. Sorry.
No hard feelings here. But I have proven time and time again that money is not that important to me. Like, even though it might be that like carrot dangled in front of your face, and there's definitely been times that I have gone down that road of being easily influenced by money, I can genuinely say this. I've noticed this throughout my entire life, but my happiest times in life, my most like joyful periods of my life, my most carefree periods of my life have not anywhere been correlated to the amount of money I was earning at the time, and like even my level of security. I purely just am looking for the fulfillment and passion and like connection and the people and purpose and working towards something that I actually believe in. Yep. And I know that I was meant to take this road. It got me into learning about true health and wellness and creating this incredible lifestyle. Entrepreneurship, these values of like, just like take the risk, go for it, kind of like just do it, don't overthink it. And that's life skills that I've learned that are so invaluable, that I am so grateful for the road I chose.
Yeah, and those are like skills and ways of being that you're still like honing and shaping, and as you hone and shape and step into those even more, like the abundance will come. You've kind of zigged and zagged. You've taken jobs, that I think you were mostly happy working with me, so I'm going to exclude that. But like after that, you've taken jobs that have been more of like, oh well, it's because this is what I know and I can make more money, and then I've kind of zigged and zagged in that, and so all those lessons have been super necessary, but like those have probably slowed. I don't want to say slowed down because everything happens in the timing that it's supposed to, but like you're done with that now. So I
Yeah.
think being done with that, this moving on from this podcast to being an example, not that this like hasn't been fulfilling or a good journey, but like the clarity of like, okay, this is not fulfilling my purpose right now. Like, look
Hmm.
how much easier that decision was to make this time. And like
Yeah.
now you just won't even get yourself into things that aren't fulfilling your purpose, and like the abundance gets created there.
I know, exactly. Like, I can definitely, there was a period there where I knew I was accepting a job that it was not fully aligned for me at all. I was like not excited about it, but I was in a time, and it's kind of sucks when there's like a visa involved. That's like an extra
Mm-hmm.
layer of
Mm-hmm.
like needing to stay in the country and money being appealing, of course. But me just being in it and being like, this is so not fucking it. And that I think back to that and the way that it drained my soul, and I was then not able to come from that place. Like, I couldn't, when you're just like soul sucked in a
Mm-hmm.
job that you're just not happy in, you're not inspired, you're not thinking abundance mindset, you're not thinking like, okay, like let's freaking go. And then the times on the other side of being like, oh shit, I've just got to do this. This is, I don't have a job. I'm like, I've got to work this out. Has, but believing in myself, that's when like the inspiration comes. It's like, okay, I got to do this.
I think so many people are having those moments right now, and have before, but it now feels like a real time in the world that like collectively people are waking up, and it's like it's the job, it's the marriage, it's the other relationships, like these things that have, served them for a certain purpose or given security that they're waking up to and like no longer are. And I think there's a lesson in there, like, okay, be grateful for that, for the opportunity to experience that, because now you know what you're never going back to, you know?
Yeah.
And also the lesson that if you can get over it, if you can move through it, if you can move past it, if you can, quit the job, get the divorce, cut off the relationship, whatever it is that inside of you is not right. You knew before you took the job that it wasn't
Yeah.
right for you, right? And we all know.
Yeah.
We all know actually what is and isn't right for us. But if you can pull the band-aid off and move yourself, remove yourself from the situation and like step forward and move on, like you said, there's so much freedom and expansiveness and like joy on the other side. It's just like the ripping off of the band-aid that is so hard, and we just delay in that space for so freaking long, myself included. I've been there.
Totally. Oh my gosh. I mean, this literally came up in my client call yesterday. Just my client in a job that, he knows it's not fulfilling, and he knows that it's not what he wants to be doing, but what's on the other side just is so unknown, and that's scary. And that initial step to get out of it, there's just so much fear around that. But I think, and this is what I learned with my coaching with Meredith, it's like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, when you
Mm-hmm.
really, really
Mm-hmm.
look at it, like, ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen? Okay, like, and then what? And then
Yes.
what? And
Yes.
then what? Like, okay, then, okay, I get fired, or then I quit. And then I try and start my new business, but I can't because I'm scared. And then I run out of money, and then I have to move back in with my parents. And then I've got so much shame, but it's like, but like, is then from that place, you're going to fucking do something about it at some point, or you just continue to stay in the job for as long, the longer you're in it, the harder it is to get out. And the older you get, the more you're like, well, too late now. And then you kind
Mm-hmm.
of live in that in between land, and it's like kind of misery.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple things came up for me when you were saying that, but like one, I was talking to a friend today about her relationship with her partner, and just thinking as she was talking, like, wanting to move on from a relationship, but there's kids and it's complicated. And as she was talking, it was like, okay, well, you're either going to do it now in the near future, or you're going to do it when your kids leave for college,
Yeah.
So like it's almost like the breaking point, the ripping off of the band-aid is inevitable, but it's like, how long are you going to go before it happens? And like, if you truly believe it's inevitable, like, wouldn't you just want to get it over with sooner rather than later,
Yeah. I mean,
and live
thinking
your life?
exactly. I mean, I think back to my parents' divorce. They waited until I finished high school. Like I'd graduated, finished my year 12 exams, my final year exams. And it was like 2 weeks later. And they sat me down and they're like, all right, Maddie, we're getting a divorce. And I was like, yeah, thank fuck. Like you guys should have done this like a year ago, like more. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think they both had known for a very long time that it wasn't working and that it was inevitable and it was going to happen. And there was this feeling of like living in misery for, you know, years. And I understand they were doing it for us kids. They wanted to hold that household together. And so, I mean, I'm grateful for that in that sense. They wanted me to be able to focus on my year 12. And at the same time, I saw how happy they both were. I mean, it took a bit of time, but it got there. And now they're both in loving relationships, and that I can now see that they're finally like happy in their relationships. And the longer you hold on to that, it's like, don't sit in that pain.
Yeah, it's just a story we tell. One of the stories we tell, like we're doing something to protect other people or for other people, or because we don't want to hurt other people, or we don't want to be judged by other people, where it's like, it's not about others. It truly comes down to self. Like, one, no one's judging you the way you are judging yourself. 100%. That's something I have to tell myself all the time. And like you're not hiding anything from other people too. You're keeping the energy of the relationship, whatever it is, your kids, your partner, your job, like that energy of that relationship is impacting them as well. And if it's negative energy, it's impacting everyone negatively. So it's funny, like the excuses and stories we tell, again, so guilty myself, that if like we could just cut through that BS a bit, like, and just knock it off, like how much easier it would be to make decisions.
Yeah, and it's like, look after yourself for others. Like, actually, if you can look after yourself and so you can show up as like a better version of yourself, you're helping everyone around you. Like, no one's benefiting by you being like miserable and in pain, and you're just like holding on to this like belief that you have to be doing this thing, or like your ego or whatever.
The stories we tell each other are wild. Okay, so you are an empowerment coach. You are heading off to really build your own brand and follow this. And you already do incredible one-on-one sessions and work. You're starting a group program. Tell me about, like, is this where you thought you'd be in life? Like, little Maddie, we're talking, little Maddie's sitting here with us. Would she be like, yeah, this totally makes sense? Or like, what's your perspective here? Where did you think you were going to be at this point?
Absolutely fucking not. Like, no way. Did I think I would be living in LA, in California, you know, as an empowerment coach? I would not have even known what that was. I mean, I didn't even know what that was until like last year. And like all the things that are in my life, like absolutely not. I think that, I mean, number one, I probably thought I would be like married with kids, owning a house, and like fucking very rich by now.
Yeah, I understand that.
And like, not to say I'm not on that trajectory, but like, you know, I think you think by the, you know, in your 30s that you would have done all those things that you think that you should do.
It feels like you should feel much more like an adult, like speaking from someone also in their 30s and a few years older than you. It's like, when am I gonna feel like an adult? You know? I thought I'd be more of an adult by now, even though I'm doing very adult things. There's still like, you kind of like body grows up, but like your brain still isn't fully like, you're like, okay, when do we start this adult thing?
No, and I actually think I've tapped into my childlike self more than ever. And in a different way, you know, like I think through my 20s, it was probably like, you know, just like wanting to have fun. I think that was always my goal through my 20s, like just have fun, whether that was like drinking and partying or like going out to this festival and that, and like just doing all of the things, always boat parties, etc. You know, now in my 30s, it's like, okay, how can I just like feel good? And it's like, how can I nourish my body? How can I like eat really well? How can I like not consume the substances that don't make me feel good? How can I just like laugh and play and feel connected and feel like love and choose my people, which I think is a gift to be so clear on that in my early 30s. I think, you know, not everyone necessarily is so aware of the things that are making themselves feel good. They're often like
Right.
finding escapes or like
Yeah.
things to numb the pain. But I just like want to feel all of it. I want to be like so in it, just like the hard things, the good things. Like I just want to feel all of my range of emotions. I just want to feel like, yeah, so like I'm allowing my body to be so in it and so present and so aware of everything that's going on around me. And yeah, did I think I would be doing this work? Like, no, I think growing up, and I think I've said this in one of the first episodes, for me, like career growing up was like, oh, you sit at a desk and you go to work and you work a 9 to 5 and you're sitting in front of your computer and you are either working in marketing or accounting, or, you know, you're a physio or you're a doctor. And it was very linear in that sense, or, you know, not to downplay anything in those careers, but that's just what I thought. So I think that's why even moving to LA, it was like, oh, I'm going to go work for like a cold pressed juice and plant-based milk startup. Okay. Whoa. Like already edgy. And then like then you're going to go pave the way and you're going to start a podcast and you're going to start a Moroccan rug business, and then you're going to be a coach and you know, just getting to connect with people all day. Like, it's better than I could have ever fucking imagined.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
love
to have to take a moment to appreciate how good it is. It's like, oh no, this life is so freaking juicy. It's so good. I'm like, yeah, so inspired by the people I'm surrounded by, the work that I get to do, the lifestyle I've created, the way I get to live my life. Like holding hands in the ocean with, you know, 20 friends at 6 a.m. in the morning. Like, and that's like all part of it. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah. How do you think the people that have known you the longest, that you've kind of grown up with, like, how do you think they view or experience you now?
Do you know what? They're like, oh, yeah, Maddie, you're doing exactly what
Makes
you need
sense.
to be doing.
Yes. Yes.
This makes total sense. It was so validating when my best friends from growing up from Adelaide, they came and visited me in LA for the first time. And I remember being like, oh no, they're coming to see my life here in LA. Like by that stage, I was like plant-based, like loving yoga, like, you know, meditation, like all these things, like, you know, I was off the booze way more. I was like into mushies, like, you know the drill, California sober. And there was definitely this fear of judgment. And they came in and they saw the way I was living, and they all reported back afterwards. And they're like, Mads, like, I know we've been telling you you need to move back to Australia. Like, you're exactly where you need to be. Like, this is so you. And like, live it. Like, this is you.
I love that. Yeah, I ask because I think when we are going through big changes and transitions and really stepping into, you know, what we would call our truest versions, I think like those are the people that pop in our heads that we're most worried about. What will they think of me? And on my own journey, that's certainly come up. And then I also just recently, as I was like, you know, doing some creative writing, was like, oh no, those people are going to get this the most, actually. Those are the people who like know me and have seen me And this is going to be like I'm just like thinking about my best friend from high school, you know, with the brand and information I'm about to share too. It's like, oh, he's going to be like, yeah, no shit. Like, this is no surprise. Not that he would be judgmental ever anyway, but it's like going to be, you know, it's going to be nothing to him. Like,
Oh my gosh. Okay, I can see this now. Like, little girl from Buffalo, she's now here living in LA, have for many years. I don't know how much you can reveal, but I do want to ask for you. You stepping into this next chapter, you know, what does this look like for you?
yeah, I mean, thank you for asking. I haven't had much of an opportunity to say it out loud. And, you know, this episode will come out a few days before I fully launch it, but that's okay. Like, why not give the people a sneak peek?
Ooh.
And it's so funny because I had a session this morning with someone and I was talking about their purpose, and they're afraid to step in their purpose. And I was like, and their purpose is very tangible, very logical, very exciting, and will help a lot of people. But I'm like, hey, anytime you feel afraid, just take a look at me. I'm about to tell people that I'm a fucking oracle. Okay? And I'm not joking, and it's real. And I'm going out in the world telling people I'm an oracle. I have psychic abilities. I have the ability to channel. I have and can speak to and see and channel dead people. I can see other dimensions, like crazy ass shit. Okay. And a part of me is like, I've been working on this a lot, so it's actually very much less so, but through the decision and the process of deciding to share this publicly in order to be of service to people, there have been moments where I've literally been terrified of like, what am I about to tell people? Like, that I'm psychic? Like, and not only psychic, but also like big expansive shit. Like, man, couldn't my purpose be something easier and a little more like, you know, grounded and acceptable? But it is what it is, and I've done a ton of work around it, and there's no denying it. So yes, I am launching my personal brand, if that's what you want to call it, a rebirth, if you will, called A Modern Oracle, this week.
Amazing. Oh, I mean, Brooke, it just feels aligned for you. It's so it really, I've seen you through all of your iterations of yourself.
True.
I mean, did I think that when I saw you probably at your like peak CEO embodiment that you would be like, when you were back like pitching to investors, when you were just like fucking badass, and you were like, don't leave the office before 7 p.m. Like, we fucking work from 7 a.m. except like a slave driver.
Okay.
You literally like...
First, I would never say we fucking work until 7 p.m. But that was certainly implied, and certainly dirty looks were given if you were packing up your stuff before then.
Yeah, like, I mean, come on. Like, I've been living this lifestyle for a long time, looking after myself, and you would not embrace it. You were like... say, no, Maddie, you can't take time off. No, Maddie, you can't do this. Like, we work. I'm like, okay, cool. Until you fucking burned out to the ground. And now you're coming back as a rebirth, as an oracle. Like, yeah, this is... I've seen your journey and it's been a fucking interesting one.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting part is like, I'm not giving up my role as a CEO, right? I still have a business to run. So like
True.
Holding both at the same time, I think is like the interesting journey. And, you know, I've expressed this to you privately and also in different ways on this podcast. Like, I have a lot of like sadness and regrets around my leadership in the past, my CEO mask, if you will, and like don't think it held like the empathy, the kindness, the understanding that I actually am capable of. So I think this is also an interesting opportunity for me to bring this oracle side, which is, it's just me. Like, it is just me. There's no mask there. It just is like this I don't even know what to call it, because like Dennis has been saying gift, but it's not a gift. It's just like my experiences, past life and this life, have allowed me to have this connection to different levels of consciousness. So can I now bring the true me into the CEO role and do it in a very different way than I have in the past, which is like, it's exciting and scary too at the same time, because it's not, I haven't really seen a lot of Oracle CEOs out there.
It's paved the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's too where when you came to me and said like, hey, I think, I don't think, I think the podcast is no longer serving me, and you were ready to step into like your own future. Like, it felt correct and right also, because we're both kind of like, we started on the journey together, and now we're both kind of not parting ways by any means, but like our interests are pulling us in different directions that are kind of necessary and run parallel. But it felt right, and like, okay, yeah, I'm excited to get a little more spiritual and witchy and into the magic, where your stuff is a bit more grounded.
Totally. And we can fully see that for one another. Like, we are definitely, parallel journeys. There's growth, there's expansion, there's like really like stepping into these identities and like really like getting deeper on what it is that we can both provide for the world. But it's like, it is slightly different. And I think that us forming this podcast together, like, both built us up and built this platform, built this space for us to then be able to step into our own and do it as individuals, which I'm so grateful for. Which is also funny because, side note, do you know when Facebook first came out in 2006 or 7? Oh, I don't think I got it in 2007 or 8. But me and my best friend Eliza Harley, we decided we didn't want to create our own Facebook page. We wanted to have a joint Facebook page because we would like joint at the middle.
Oh my God, I love this.
We had our Facebook was Eliza Mads. It's so fucking weird now because it's like, it's clearly like your profile. But that existed. Like, there were years that went on. It was like, you want to speak to Eliza or Mads? Like, you message Eliza Mads. We're both of us. We're a joint thing. And I remember we had to come together at one moment and be like, do you think that Eliza Mads has run its course? And, we're at a stage now where we can both step out into our own and be our own people. And we agreed, we started our own Facebook pages and we went out on our own into the world, big wild world.
I love that. First of all, that's hilarious. It's so hilarious they would even do that in the first place. And I love that. And I think, like, it's more of like, we're just like holding hands from a distance, right? Because I'm still going to need support from you. I hope you'll still need support from me or want it. It's like this, like, but it's like we are on this parallel path, and it's like your learnings will empower me, my learnings will empower you, and it's like it's this symbiotic relationship, but it's like less of like one of us is living on top of the other. I'm thinking about it in nature where like the bird on the crocodile, or like it's like,
totally,
no, we're gonna go, we're gonna swim in different rivers, but like that river comes together at the lake, and we'll come hang out and share what we learn with each other.
Great analogy. I love that. Yeah, I think there's nothing more empowering than, the partnership to leverage you and then to get to this place where you're like, I can do this. I can fly now. And we're both ready to fly in our own direction alongside each other and support each other. Yeah, and that feeling that we'll get, I think it would just be like, that more of an accomplishment of like that individual satisfaction of like, okay, I can do this. I'm doing exactly what feels perfectly aligned for me.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get into that then, because we talked about doing, having a little convo around what has been your rose, your bud, and your thorn of starting this podcast, being in this relationship, building this together. So do you want to go into that?
Ooh, let's do it. Rosebud and thorn. For anyone who's not familiar, Rose is like the beauty, the highlight, the positive that you've got out of something. Bud is the opportunity ahead, and Thorn is the challenge.
Yeah, but I feel like we should start backward because, like, I don't want to end on the
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah,
You know,
let's not start
like,
on the challenge.
yeah. Okay, great. We want to.
Okay, but I feel like our Thorn is maybe going to be the same. What do you think?
Oh, I
Oh,
feel like
interesting.
now I
No.
feel like your thorn is about me. So I'm not sure.
Oh,
Maybe.
fuck.
All right, you
You
get
go
to go
first.
first.
Shocking.
Nope. This was your idea. You're going first.
This is bullshit. Okay. Fuck it. We're being vulnerable. Let's go there. But a thorn is such a brutal word, you know. I think this has been a challenge. Like, if I really, really thought about like yeah, no. I think that as we've just talked about, like the progression of our relationship, you and I, and we've talked about this. We've talked about this one-on-one. And this has also been the biggest gift for us to be able to talk about this honestly and vulnerably with each other and agree and be on the same page. Like, yeah. I think, yeah, navigating our partnership from what it was to what I wanted it to be has been probably the bigger challenge. And I think, I mean, also starting podcasts is like scary, and actually like putting yourself out there is like a big challenge. So let me just say that, like, that has definitely been a personal challenge, has been putting myself out there and being okay to just like allow myself to just be myself and accept myself and know that there's things along the way that I wasn't so happy with, and just be like, oh, I have to just care less because there's nothing that you can do or say here. But I think also while navigating a partnership where definitely like you are very good at public speaking, you're very good at like being a leader. There's so many things that you had already embodied before starting this podcast, like that I see in you that, you know, you'd got from entrepreneurship, you'd got from just like you and your personality. And I think working alongside that and me being like, okay, this is like very edgy for me, and maybe the first time I'm really using my voice and putting myself out there in a way and stepping into like trying to be more of a leader was, yeah, it was also a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're like so closely working with someone, especially in a public forum, and you're naturally compared to someone, I think knowing that our differences, and we talked about this early on, of like just the way that I process things and you process things. You're a generator, manifesting generator.
Just generator. Yeah.
Just a generator in your human design, and me being a reflector, and me like really needing more like space and time to process things. And we learned this through our interviewing style, that, you know, we tried to interview together, and I think it was a challenge. I felt it was a challenge. And then once we found our groove and we tried out interviewing separately, we realized, okay, we were both able to individually shine the way that we want to shine.
Yep.
And I think we did a beautiful job of navigating it, but it was certainly like learnings and challenges along the way.
For sure. We both work very differently, and not one is not better than the other. It's just different. And actually we have an episode with human design coach Kelly Metters, and we had done a session with her separately ourselves that really helped make that clear for me. But it's still hard to understand. It's like we have two very different operating systems. And so it made it easier for me to like understand when you were working in ways that were different than I would work, but it made it easier to understand, but like not easier to process and be in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Because it's like when you do something, when you are away, you're like, why can't the other person just be like that? Like, why can't they, you know, like, why can't this just work? But it's like accepting those differences is like That's the beauty.
I think one interesting way, an easy way to sum up our relationship is it's something that I realized when I actually met your sister, maybe like 2 years ago in person, when she was here visiting, is we're both big sisters. We're both the oldest girls in our family, and we both, without speaking, know a lot of the dynamics that that brings. And
Mm.
I kind of didn't process that or realize, like, I knew you had two younger siblings, obviously, but I didn't process that dynamic until I met your sister. And I was like,
Mm.
how was Mads as a sister? And she's like, oh, typical older sister stuff and like bossing me around, da, da, da. And I was like, oh shit, we, you put two older sisters in a room and it's just like, we're both used to being that role. And like, you can't have two of that role in one place, you know?
That's a really good way to put it. That is so true. I can be totally bossy and totally controlling of situations. I'm like, no, I see the way this needs to go. Like, this is what we need to do. And I mean, yeah, ask my friends, my siblings, like, poor things. And so I guess being our dynamic, that you were my boss, I had to let you be the bigger sister. Like, of
Yeah.
course, like that's the way that it had to go. So I was like, all right. So I, stepped back a little and like let you lead. And so when we now stepped into a equal partnership, that was there was a lot of learning in that. It was like, oh, okay, I want to step up. I want to, like, this is equal, and it was hard to move out of that dynamic that we'd
Totally.
set.
Totally. And I think I actually like know how much I treated you like a little like a younger sister before. Like I thought of you and still do think of you as a sister, but like I have always been harder on you. I have always expected more from you, just as I remember catching myself like using language and doing things that I would do with my own like blood little sister. And I'm not exactly sure what that is, but like, we have an undeniable connection, but like I definitely like accidentally fell into that dynamic too, not just boss, but like older sister.
Mm, yeah. Whoa, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. I know, I think it's taken us a long time to get away from that. And I think at first, like, seeing you soften has probably been the biggest. I mean, I know it's been one of the biggest gifts for our friendship and
Hmm.
partnership, because it's allowed me to see you in this light of like, oh, she's not in this like kind of that boss energy. She's actually really like soft and compassionate and gentle and wants the best for me. And so like like lean into that. Like, she can trust that she's got your back.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And like we are so equal and have truly, in my mind, have been in this partnership. You've brought, you know, equal momentum, equal work ethic, equal all the things, magnetism to this. So yeah, I think in that sense, it healed. I guess I didn't know that the relationship needed healing in that way. And so it allowed me to see that it did. And it, I think, did its job.
I know. Yeah, truly, I now can look at this relationship and it's come so far, like from where I felt that we were maybe had left off in like a professional sense. What we've now brought back, it's like full circle. It's like, oh, we went through all of that to like heal some wounds in each other to be able to be like friends for life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. But you still have to give me big sis a little bit of the time because you get to be younger. So like you get that and that's nothing that we can ever change. You get to be the younger one of us. So at least like let me be big sis vibes once in a while, you know.
Sometimes, but I'm going to try and make your life hell as a little sister.
Yeah.
uh,
Okay. Well,
okay.
yeah.
So, how's that
I
gone for
think
you?
I'd agree with that challenge of like there have been challenging times of us working together, but I think that we were both able to approach it in a really new way and it healed a lot of things. So yes and no, the challenge of working together. Like little bits there, but I think we both handled it in very different ways than we ever would have in the past. And like that had a lot of healing in it for me too, just to be able to collaborate, you know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so healing. So healing. The way we're able to actually talk honestly and like vulnerably, and the way that you receive information as well, and hopefully the way I react to situations as well, that is healing. Like when the other person can receive it.
Yeah, and I think actually something else that's interesting is we both put pressure on ourselves in different ways, and I think that's been a little bit healing for one another, because like I put pressure on very specific things like metrics and like things that are different than you, and I would catch you in the beginning like putting pressure on yourself, like the way you maybe things that were more aesthetic, or things that I was surprised that you would be worried about. And I think in both sides there has been some healing for us of like, okay, if I can be like, no, that's not something you need to worry about. You sound great. You look great. All the things are great. We don't have to be so particular about this. And you've kind of been like, hey, like the metrics will come, like if as long as we're in service, we're doing what we're meant to be. Like I think there's been some healing there too around like the different ways we put pressure on ourselves.
Wow, yeah. So true. Yeah, I was just being a shallow bitch. I know.
I mean,
you said that to me once. You're like, you don't have to look cool, Maddie. And I was like, do have to look cool. I've had to shed a lot of that. They certainly have not fucking looked or felt cool through so much of this. Like I've just been vulnerable, and being okay with that has been like very healing for me. Of like, oh, just be yourself.
I mean, it turns out authenticity is the coolest thing you could be. So, you know,
so true.
You heard it here first, people. Authenticity is cool.
It's cool. Vulnerability is cool.
Okay.
All right, Brooke Harris, what is your thorn?
Has been
your thorn?
No, those are my thorns. Those are my thorns. For the pressure, putting pressure on myself in ways that were unnecessary, and then like the challenges of working, but like they're not that big of thorns because I feel like they were corrected, and you know, even just having the view and the perspective of them sooner than I would have in the past, like it's just been a good growing experience. But I still have moments where I'm like, you know, just want the numbers to be higher, want to like, you know, all the things that you know about.
Yeah. Expectations. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But it all of this has served me in such amazing ways that it's like all the metrics that I'm like worrying about, they're going to come.
Totally. Yeah. This feels like so much more than that. Like we did it for ourselves.
Yeah. Okay. Bud. So Bud is, remind me what Bud is.
Bud is, I wonder whether that's what we do last, because that's like the opportunity.
Okay, great. Yes. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So Rose, you should start this one.
Yeah. So Rose is the good. I mean, my most favorite thing is like doing this with you. Like getting to spend this time together, getting the opportunity to talk about like bigger picture things that maybe wouldn't come up in the 2 hours a month that we connect, you know, or probably even less than that these days if it wasn't for this. The opportunity to collaborate in a way that really did feel like a partnership healed a lot for me. Like I've, you know, running a business where I'm the only founder, and I've had moments of like dictatorship within that, being truly in collaboration, like, and feeling successful in it has been incredibly healing for me. I think just how easy it felt and in flow it felt to get this like up and going. You know, there was no moment of we really like just decided to do it and did it. I think we weren't intimidated because we kind of had each other we knew like all the weight wasn't on just one person, and we like all the stuff we figured out in the beginning was just like, it felt so easy and in flow, and we just did it. And that's like really cool, especially in hindsight. It's really cool. It's like, oh, we just did it. It wasn't a bunch of him. And maybe that's a credit to like the fact that we'd worked together for so long before. you know, we had that trust. We knew we could count on each other. We knew what our skills were, and we just kind of divided and conquered and got it up and running.
That's so beautiful. I mean, that's like, it's literally the same as me. It's like what this has felt so in flow, so much easier than I ever could have imagined. Like from the day that we said, let's start a podcast, it just happened. It just catapulted. It was like, I mean, I think you're just very good at like making things happen. And so, I mean, you've been a great partner because you're just like, don't overthink it, just do it. And that has been huge for me. That's been a massive growth moment of being like, oh, things don't have to be this hard. I don't have to overthink it. Like, just go with it. Just like give it a go, give it a crack. And I think so for that, I've certainly like felt like I've blossomed to new levels, like of knowing that like I can just do this.
Yeah.
And to get to share this with you, with a person I trust, and we already knew our dynamic. Oh my gosh. Like, I don't know how else we could have done this. This was so it. And the fact that we can just like talk. I mean, I will say I don't, as you know me, I don't go and do much preparation. So I just like fucking rock up and you're like, are you ready? I'm like, oh, fuck, we got to trust. But it always flows with you. It's like we can just go there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this has been freaking expansive. I think that is really Expanders Club for me has been so expansive.
I love that. I love that. Another thing that's been interesting, and you know, I think, you know, so if you guys listen back to episode 3 with Eric from the Unlock Method, we talk about something. It's all about astrology and some of these like important things in your birth chart, but we talk about Chiron, which Chiron is like the wounded healer, the thing, our wounds that we're here in this lifetime to heal. And mine is the ability to use my voice and speak up and share information. So starting this for me has healed that so much. Like it's been huge, to even to the smallest degree of like, I used to hate to hear my voice, and not that I like love it now, but I don't have that cringe moment of like, oh, I can't stand to hear myself talk, you know, like it's like, no, I feel, and I think that's a lot of the evolution of like becoming my truest self too, and sounding like my truest self. But there's been a lot of healing in that for me.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. I will say, and this is like probably sounds like pretty arrogant, but I love the sound of my voice.
Yeah, I mean, you have an Australian accent, like, yeah, you have a great voice. Although that is new for you because I've heard you criticize your voice as being masculine. In the past, I haven't heard you do it in a long time, but I have heard you do that in the past.
Yeah, okay, so I've healed that too. Yeah, I think I used to think I sounded massively like a man. And now I think, I fully embrace. I'm like, oh no, I love the depth to my voice. It's like that. It's a power to be able to use your voice.
Oh,
and
yeah.
now I like fully embrace it. And as much as other people might be sitting there listening to us being like, you two's fucking voices, but like hopefully you're not listening if you hate our voices. But I think to love your voice is like, it's a huge part of loving yourself. It's a
very good indicator of where you are on your journey of self-love for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. We've done it. Self-love. Check.
Self-love is, if there's anything that 2024 has brought for me, it's fucking self-love. And I'm telling you, it feels good. If there's anything else, like, I don't think there's anything I could achieve that beat that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the starting place. You can't do
until the next achievement.
Yeah. But you can't do or have or be all the things unless you love and know yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Our bud. What is our bud? Oh, I mean.
Okay, wait. Explain what bud is again. It's what opportunities have.
Yeah,
from
this
this?
is I just interpret these things how I want to interpret them, and what I
Right.
see it as is like a bud is like what can blossom, like what opportunity can come from this.
Yeah. Okay. You go first.
Oh, okay, great. The thing is, my bud is that now I truly believe that I can achieve so much more than I ever thought I could achieve.
Yeah.
It's like that reminder that, oh, you did a hard thing. What else can you do? And like the fact that I wrote back in my journal years ago, like, start a podcast. Like, I don't even think I knew or like that I wanted to start a podcast or like that I was like, no, I
Yeah.
would never do that. That's like edgy as fuck. Like, no way. And the fact that here we are doing it and have done it, that achievement in itself is like, oh, now things that I used to would have considered saying no to or would have overthought, I don't. I'm like, yeah, like that I know serve me, but you know, things scare me less. I'm like, oh, I can do that. I can use my voice. I can like speak in public. I can like do hard things. I can figure things out. Like start a business. Sure. Like these, I think it is shed so much fear and self doubt for me, and now, yep, I can just go for it. Like now, it's like okay, the world is my
Yeah.
oyster.
Yeah. I love that, and I hope it's definitely helped me with that too, like that extra boost of confidence. And I hope that like the way we've shared things has empowered others to feel the same. Like almost in this like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it, you know? Because like
Totally.
it's fine. That's fine to think that way. Like there's nothing special about us. We just kind of all it takes is like overcoming that fear and having a plan. And obviously you want to have a purpose to doing it, but like yeah, I think by doing this and even in the stories we share, a big part of our goal is to show people like, hey, if anyone else can do it, why can't you? And that's
Yeah.
something that like I've has served me in life, and like I definitely had more of that when I was younger, and that's why I started my business. It was like, oh, other people are doing this, why couldn't I? But like that is the truth. That is the truth.
Yes.
You can do anything that you see or experience someone else doing. Like you have the ability to do it too if that's what you want and if that's part of your purpose.
So true. Oh, is that your
Yeah.
bud?
It is part of my bud, I think, and I actually had some of that written down for mine, but something as you were speaking, I realized like this has given me an opportunity to show up as myself, which I actually has been a pretty rare opportunity for me in life. Like it's been a safe place, and a big part of it is because it's with you. But it's been a safe place for me to show up and be myself, and also kind of weave through and figure out what that be a part of, like helping to figure out what that self is, what that truest version of me is. And I think it will continue to be that for me. Like, this is a place where I show up. These are my people, hopefully, that like are on board with this new and true version of me and are excited about the information I have to share. So that is like something I'm so incredibly grateful for, is like a space to show up as myself, and not feel judged, and to feel free to do so.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I was thinking that also as you were speaking before. Like, I think the getting to be so reassured that like the power of vulnerability, like when you're able to speak your truth and just be really honest and real, that has now shown up in my life in so many other ways. Like being
Yeah.
able to speak honestly here in this space, I'm now able to do that in my relationships, in my life, and this has helped my communication levels so
Yeah.
much more,
Yeah.
and beautiful things are coming of that. And again, I guess that comes back to like, yeah, using your voice and being accepting of like just, yeah, not fearing judgment.
I've actually seen like I've created this own word for myself because I've seen it now harder almost to be in life and like be in the like more basic conversations. Like I just have like less patience for them. And so I've coined the term consciousness snob. Uh, and I'm trying to figure out how to not become one. But like I like, you know, just crave and only want to have conversations at like a certain level of consciousness, a higher one than is in just the day-to-day muck of life.
I know.
And that's interesting. It's an interesting issue to have because yes, one, this space allows me that opportunity, and I have plenty of friends and people in life that allow those opportunities. But then there's still like I said, I'm a CEO, and there's still like people that just want to be regular people and don't want to talk about spirits and guides and portals. And you know, I sometimes have some envy for them because I'm like, God damn, like why can't I just be like happy as a human, like,
As a
you know,
basic, boring human.
just as, I mean, look, I have an amazing family. I have an amazing kid. My husband loves me. We have this great like relationship. I have a sweet dog and bunnies, and like, why can't I just like, why can't that be
Just
enough?
that
You know?
with the real world. Why do I need to go deeper into the underworld?
Yes, but here we are. Here we are, dude, and I'm just getting started is the scary thing.
Yes, you are. Yes, indeed. We're just getting started. Yeah, I think once you are able to go to that depth, you crave that depth. You're like, I want to be able to have these deep conversations with people. And I think the beauty and the way to be able to exist in this world is like, yes, go there, like find that depth with the people that are willing to go there. And for the people that are not, like also just like being like playful and like bringing levity to those situations and being like, do you know what? I'm just going to like laugh and play, and like we don't need to be deep here. Like life can also just be like the surface level funny shit.
I love that. Actually, that's a great perspective. And another one I've had is like almost allowing it to be an expansive moment for the human side of the experience, and like almost just like kind of observing and appreciating the like humanness of the moment and interactions.
Yes, that's it. I think it's just perspective shift, you know, and like you have an expectation of someone, then that makes it so much harder. But like just have no expectations.
Yeah, it's a work in progress, and let me tell you, I'll have a lot of practice when we are at Disneyland next week for Bowie's birthday.
Oh, good fucking luck.
Yes.
No, do you know what? I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm feeling so excited about it, but it's also a very, you know, commercialized, like consumerism human experience. But like, I'm going to embrace it because she's going to have so much freaking fun that like, I'm just going to like be in that energy for the day. And I'm actually really stoked about it. But my spirit guides, you know, maybe I'll bring them along for the journey. They might enjoy it as well. Just the observation.
Yeah, I think coming back to your spiritual self of just being like, okay, no judgment here. Like everyone is there to have a good time. I mean, mainly, and it is pretty beautiful to see like people just becoming kids again. And I was actually really surprised. I went into Disneyland being like, oh, for fuck's sake, what am I about to see? Like the scum of the earth, which is really harsh, because I walked away being like, oh my God, I'm an 8-year-old kid again. I'm running around playing and having fun. I was like, that was amazing. Yeah. And I think that you will love it, especially through Bowie's eyes.
Oh my God. I know. I am pretty excited about it. But yeah, a lot has happened. A lot more to come. I think we need to next year at this time, I can't even imagine what we'll be doing and talking about and experiencing. So like we'll have a little reunion episode to reflect on the year.
We should do that. Like every 6 months, like check in, see where we're at, report back on how life has progressed and expanded for us. Because yeah, if this much has changed in less than a year, like what else could happen?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I know that the coaching and the program and everything you're doing, putting together is going to be so impactful for people. And it's going to be really beautiful for your life too. It's your calling for sure.
Thank you, B. Appreciate you. I may refer to you as the Oracle now.
Thank
Modern
you. I would
Oracle.
appreciate that.
This feels aligned. You're here to shine. I see you as that.
Thank you.
I love you.
Thanks, buddy. I love you too. This has been an incredible journey and, many more journeys to come for us. And who knows?
It's just the beginning.
Brings. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, everyone. So there's the news. There's a lot of information. You can keep up with Maddie. There's a lot she didn't share that I'm excited for everyone to experience. Like you're going to want to follow along on her journey. So what's the best place or best way to do that, Maddie?
Guys, keep with me on Instagram. That's going to be the best place. Madeline_Lucy. And follow along. I've got much to reveal, exciting things happening. I'd love you there with me through this journey. This is not the end. And I want to thank you for your support, for listening, for staying tuned, for being there through thick and thin and with holding no judgment. I mean, as much as you can. And yeah, keep expanding this life. It's to be lived to our fullest. That's all I can say.
Yeah. And we're about to see you live it to your fullest. So cannot wait for you to be such a shining example for all of us. Expanders Club podcast is not going anywhere, guys. It is going to go through its own transformation. I'm not exactly sure what that is yet, and I'm actually excited about that. And that is different for me because I usually have a plan, but like there's a bunch of mystical, interesting stuff happening, and you will see in a few days I'll be putting out my new brand, a modern oracle, offering oracle sessions for anyone who's looking for transformation, to understand purpose, to maybe take a look at a relationship or relationships or business. Really kind of can help with anything and everything you're looking to get insights and truth on. So that's super exciting. And, we'll start to build some of that into our experience here on the podcast and the full experience of what Expanders Club is. So stick around. It's going to get interesting.
I mean, I can speak from experience. Brooke certainly has a gift, a power, a calling as the Oracle, and you are going to want to experience it.
Yeah. Thanks, Mads. Yeah, super excited to hang out with you all as everything unfolds. And as always, hit us up on Instagram at Expanders Club. Follow Maddie on her personal at Madeline_Lucy. And I guess after this episode, it'll be I and not we. But for one last time, we are so grateful to have you here.
So much love. Gonna miss you guys, but I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, everyone.